The moment no one expected unfolded with breathtaking intensity. Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, broke down in tears during his own birthday celebration when Jin suddenly appeared, turning the private event into an emotionally charged reunion that left armies across the globe in shock. Why did this meeting carry so much weight, and what truly happened between Jungkook and Jin that caused millions of fans to cry just by witnessing it? The tension surrounding the bond between Jin and Jungkook had already become a subject of quiet speculation among armies. Over the past months, subtle interactions, silences, and distance had been noticed, leaving fans wondering if an unspoken rift existed. So when the news spread that Jin had personally shown up during Jungkook's birthday celebration, carrying not just a presence, but an apology, the event immediately transcended the boundary of a private gathering and became a moment of global significance. It was not just a birthday party, it was a stage where years of suppressed emotion and unspoken words finally surfaced. Jin's entrance was described as quiet yet overwhelmingly powerful. He did not arrive with spectacle, nor with the typical grandeur expected of a superstar. Instead, he carried with him something far more piercing: sincerity. The tension in the room reportedly shifted the moment he walked in. Jungkook, initially stunned, froze at the sight of Jin approaching. The celebratory mood turned into something else entirely, an atmosphere heavy with anticipation, questions, and an almost tangible silence, as everyone present understood that something extraordinary was about to unfold. When Jin finally reached Jungkook, he presented him with a gift. Witnesses say it was carefully chosen, personal, and meaningful. But it was not the gift itself that carried the most weight. It was Jin's words that had been long overdue, words that resonated so deeply that Jungkook could no longer contain his emotions. The apology, simple yet profound, broke the walls that had silently stood between them. For Jungkook, who had carried the burden of unspoken feelings, this moment unleashed tears that flowed uncontrollably. His sobs were not just the release of emotion on his birthday. They were the culmination of years of brotherhood, distance, pressure, and the longing for reconciliation. The image of Jungkook in Jin's embrace, crying openly while Jin held him firmly, is now etched into the minds of armies worldwide. This was not a scripted moment. It was raw, genuine, and devastatingly real. Fans who watched or heard about it could not hold back their own tears, because the bond between Jin and Jungkook has always symbolized more than just teamwork. It represents resilience, family, and the emotional complexities of 7 young men who grew up under the spotlight, carrying the weight of global expectations while still navigating their own human vulnerabilities. The timing of this reconciliation could not have been more symbolic. For Jungkook, birthdays have always been a mixture of personal reflection and public celebration. Having Jin present on this particular day added a layer of gravity that cannot be overstated. It was not merely about celebrating another year of life. It was about healing, about mending fractures, and about reaffirming bonds that many had feared were strained beyond repair. The presence of Jin served as a reminder that despite distance, silence, or misunderstanding, the ties within BTS remain unbreakable. Armies reacted with a flood of emotions online, many admitting that just hearing about the moment made them cry. Some expressed relief that Jin and Jungkook had finally confronted whatever tension had existed, while others focused on the symbolism of the apology being delivered at such a deeply personal event. Fans highlighted how Jungkook's tears reflected not weakness, but strength to let down his guard, strength to embrace forgiveness, and strength to face emotions that many in his position might have suppressed. For armies, this was a reminder of why their connection to BTS runs so deep. The group does not shy away from showing their humanity. The question that continues to resonate is, what exactly did Jin apologize for? Neither Jungkook nor Jin has revealed the precise details, and perhaps they never will. Yet, the ambiguity only heightens the significance. Sometimes, it is not about the specifics of the past, but about the acknowledgement of pain, the courage to admit fault, and the willingness to rebuild trust. By choosing to act rather than remain silent, Jin demonstrated leadership not just as the eldest of BTS, but as someone deeply committed to the emotional well-being of his brothers. The larger implication of this event stretches beyond Jungkook and Jin alone. It speaks to the dynamics of BTS as a group that has always presented unity, but has inevitably faced challenges behind the scenes. In the world of entertainment, where perfection is expected, moments like this break the illusion and remind fans that BTS is not merely a phenomenon. They are real people with real relationships, struggles, and emotions. For armies, Witnessing such vulnerability is both heartbreaking and inspiring, reinforcing the authenticity that has always been at the core of the group's appeal. As the celebration continued, the initial shock gave way to a quieter, more reflective atmosphere. Jungkook, though still visibly emotional, expressed gratitude not just to Jin but to everyone present. His words, choked by tears, conveyed the depth of his appreciation for the love surrounding him. But it was clear to all that the true gift of the night was not material. It was the reconciliation itself, the healing of a bond that had carried silent weight for far too long. This emotional turning point raises pressing questions for the future. How will this reconciliation affect BTS moving forward? Will it open the door to more moments of vulnerability and honesty within the group? And most importantly, how will ARMYs interpret and carry this moment in their ongoing relationship with BTS? Already, discussions have erupted online, with fans dissecting every detail, every gesture, and every word exchanged. The consensus, however, is clear. This moment will be remembered as one of the most powerful in the history of BTS, not because of grandeur or spectacle, but because of the raw truth it revealed. For Jungkook, the birthday he will remember most vividly may not be the ones filled with elaborate gifts or global fan events, but this one, where his tears became a symbol of healing, where Jin's apology cut through silence, and where ARMYs collectively felt the profound weight of love, regret, and forgiveness. The moment reminded the world that behind the global stage, behind the music and the fame, lies a story of human connection that is fragile, complex, and endlessly meaningful. And for ARMYs, the tears that fell that night will not be forgotten. They were not just Jungkook's tears. They became the tears of millions, reflecting the deep, unbreakable connection between BTS and their fans. The birthday celebration that began as an ordinary tradition ended as a historic moment of reconciliation, vulnerability, and love, one that will echo for years to come. The emotional weight of the reunion between Jin and Jungkook has ignited a firestorm of debate, but one pressing question remains at the center. Can we trust that what we saw and read truly happened? Or are we witnessing a carefully constructed narrative designed to stir emotions and drive global attention? This is not a simple matter of fandom celebration. It is an invitation for all observers to confront their own biases, assumptions, and the very mechanisms of modern media consumption. How much of what we accept as truth is rooted in verifiable evidence, and how much is the product of viral storytelling amplified by platforms hungry for engagement? In considering this moment, we must acknowledge that nearly all the information surfaced through fragmented channels, TikTok clips, Twitter threads, YouTube reactions, and scattered articles that claim to report eyewitness testimony. But can a viral clip, edited for maximum emotional effect, serve as irrefutable proof? Can we rely on secondhand accounts without questioning their origins, their intentions, or the incentives driving their circulation? These questions are not meant to undermine the emotions that ARMYs felt. Rather, they force us to confront the uncomfortable possibility that emotions themselves can be weaponized in the age of instant information. It is critical to ask, if Jin's sudden appearance and apology to Jungkook were indeed real, why has no official documentation been released through credible sources? Why do we find ourselves piecing together narratives from fleeting posts and unverifiable footage instead of a transparent account? And conversely, if this was an orchestrated event, who benefits from shaping such a narrative? Could it be aimed at rekindling public attention, amplifying fan engagement, or even testing the emotional resilience of ARMYs as a collective? These are not accusations but provocations, designed to push us beyond passive consumption toward critical reflection.